So I went around the internet and I looked at a lot of lists that had a lot of different neighborhoods, some on this list, some that I just felt they really weren't that bad. Like they were nitpicking when they put them on those lists. So I went through and I made my own list of the eight worst of the worst neighborhoods in Richmond. And these really are, they are the worst of the worst. Now, that being said, Richmond is actually going through a revitalization process. They are buying up rundown homes, buildings. They are slapping a coat of paint, lipstick on them, and they are selling them to you for 300 to 400,000. They actually went through and made a whole article, which I can link below if you would like, that basically references this whole. I think it's a scam just because you're still in these terrible neighborhoods. Like, don't get it confused. They're putting paint on a pig or lipstick on a pig. Forgive me. Now, number 8 on my list is gonna be Belt Center. It is south of Richmond, and honestly, it's not that bad. With the beauty of Belt Center is that it is near the Hunter Holmes McGuire VA Medical Center. So if you are a veteran, that's a great benefit to you. Um, Other than that, though, there are no real benefits of this neighborhood coming to mind. I've been here. It's not nice. I mean, even with the paint, it's not nice. Now, something I should mention is every single neighborhood here is actually within the Richmond City public school limits. Uh, if you don't know what that means, if you're not from Virginia, if you haven't done your research, Richmond has some of the worst schools in the state. It literally has the worst school in the state, which is Amelia Street School. Literally. I'm emphasizing just so you understand that we have 330 schools here. It's the worst one in the state. But I mean, you'll get cheap housing in all of these neighborhoods. Well, actually, no. You would have gotten cheap housing, but now that they're on this revitalization kick, they're buying homes for 22,000 and they're flipping them for around 280, 300, even $400,000. America, gotta love it. Number 7 is going to be Oakwood. Now, Oakwood is on the east end. It's near Chimaraza, Churchill, that area. If you're not from Richmond, I've included maps so you'll be able to see. Okay, so the amazing thing about the Oakwood neighborhood is that the views here are stunning. They have some amazing parks. So if you're into a somewhat walkable area with access to public transportation, improving crime rates, and just overall affordable place to live within the city limits, and you're not scared off by the public school system, then this is definitely my favorite. Like, this is where I would buy if I wanted to live within Richmond city limits. This is definitely the neighborhood I would choose. Number 6 is gonna be Creighton Court. Now, it's number 6 because this neighborhood, it's not the best. It's not the worst. It's not as bad as number 1, but it's not as good as number 8. So you're going to run into all of the basic crime that you're going to encounter in Richmond: theft, robberies, vandalism, shootings. You're going to get lower property value, poor schools. You're going to have access to the horrible public transportation that we have here, and that's pretty much it. The neighborhood that comes in at number 5 is gonna be Jeff Davis. Now, if you don't know, the neighborhood of Jeff Davis also has Jeff Davis Highway, which is gonna be renamed Emancipation Highway. That was signed into effect on March 30th, 2021, and will go into effect in January of 2022. Now, that being said, Jeff Davis, the neighborhood, it's like everything else in Richmond. They're trying to revitalize. That being said, once you get out there, it's like a whole nother world. It's like a third world country almost. Don't get me wrong. There are some okay homes out there, but for the most part, what you're gonna run into is nothing more than poor housing, a lot of trailer parks, a lot of drug use, a lot of property crime, a lot of shootings, a lot of assaults. It's number 5 because like number 6, 7, and 8, it's not the worst. But we're gonna get to the worst. And then you'll understand. Number 4 is going to be Broad Rock. Now, Broad Rock is in the south side of Richmond. It's actually pretty close to number 8, Belt Center. Now, the reason why it's at number 4 is that when you look at Belt Center, the median income is around 55,000, where in Broad Rock it's at 17. The overall city government, they haven't put into place some of the same things that they're giving the citizens in the neighborhood of Belt Center, such as, just for an example, in Belt Center, they're getting little things like bus stop shelters, which it may seem small, but it can lend to certain residents not taking as much pride in their neighborhood. So that coupled with, the crime rating, lack of income, lack of opportunities. It's just, you don't want to go here. Now, within this community, the crimes are pretty much property crimes and a couple assaults. I mean, they have some shootings, but it's just not as high as the number 3, 2, and 1 on the list. Number 3 on the list is going to be Mosby Court. Now, Mosby Court is actually in the east end of Richmond, and Mosby, Creighton, Fairfield, and Wickham Court are actually all housing projects, and they're actually within 1 square mile of each other. So now I know that I shared that the neighborhood Mosby and Creighton and Fairfield and Wickham are all within 1 square mile of each other. That being said, I actually looked up the reported crimes within the last 24 hours, and there were about 15 that were reported. Most of them were assaults, vandalism, property damage. Now, I actually went back to October of 2020, and they had over 22 murders in 2 months within that neighborhood, which is why it's at number 3. Number 2 is going to be Hillside or Hillside Court. It's in the south side of Richmond. It's actually an outlier because it's not within 1 square mile like the other ones. Now, that being said, I did look up the stats again, and within the last 24 hours, they had over 20 crimes reported. 4 of those were shootings, it's pretty telling. There were numerous assaults as well, thefts, robbery, you name it, they do it. Just avoid it if you can. Like, these are going to be places where the properties are going to be so low, even the land value is going to be extremely low. You're going to want to buy, you may want to build. Don't do it. And number 1 is going to be Gilpin or Gilpin Court. Now, again, this is another housing project. Now, the thing that's really interesting about this community is the fact that there's almost no home ownership in this neighborhood. I looked it up, and I think it was like 99% of the people here rent, and like 1%. I couldn't even get like a median home value, like not at all. And I think the average rent was around $217 a month, which is so telling. The median income is around $10,806. Only 31% of the people here have graduated from high school. And I looked up the crime stats as well. Within the last 24 hours, there were about 40 crimes reported. Yes, I said 40, 40. 3 of those were shootings. There were several assaults, vandalisms, robberies, burglaries. Oh, and they even had their own crime show called Crime 360, which focused on this neighborhood of Gilpin. So if you can get a property here, leave a comment, tell me how much it costs so I can inform everyone else, but don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't do it. Run. Save your money. Stay in your car in a better neighborhood. It'd be safer.